Muslims will make the claim that the Quran and Islam is true because of the scientific miracles of the Quran. Typically, Muslims point to Quran chapter 23 verses 12 through 14, claiming it proves advanced embryology centuries before modern science. And certainly did we created man from an extract of clay, then we placed him as a sperm drop in a firm launching, then we made the sperm drop into a clinging clot, and we made the clot into a lump, and we made the lump bones, and we covered the bones with flesh. Then we developed him into another creation, so blessed is Allah, the best of creators. Muslims often argue that this passage perfectly matches modern embryology. However, the verse describes bones being formed before flesh covers them, whereas modern embryology shows that muscle and skeletal tissues develop together in overlapping stages rather than in a strict bones first, then flesh sequence. The passage reflects a simplified pre-modern understanding of development rather than a precise scientific explanation. Despite the claims that this knowledge was miraculous, many people before Muhammad already had theories about embryology and fetal development. Aristotle, in his works on the generation of animals and history of animals, studied reproduction and fetal development across different species in order to better understand human development. He proposed that male sperm was dominant over female menstrual blood in reproduction. Although many of his ideas were incorrect, he supported a form of epigenesis, the idea that organisms gradually develop in stages, which resembles aspects of modern developmental biology more closely than the belief that organisms form instantly in complete form. Furthermore, around 400 to 500 years before Muhammad, Galen developed theories regarding embryology and the functions of organs within the body. He did believe blood acted as fuel, which was later proven to be wrong. While many of his conclusions were incorrect, Galen believed both parents contributed material to fetal development and described developmental stages of the embryo that bear similarities to later Quranic descriptions. He wasn't that far off in his ideas. His medical writings were widely influential in the Near East long before Islam and the Quran. While Aristotle and Galen disagreed on several details regarding development and reproduction, both men had already proposed embryological theories centuries before the Quran. I also could not finish this section on embryology without mentioning Quran chapter 13 verse 8. Allah knoweth that which every female beareth, and that which the wombs absorb, and that which they grow, and everything with him is measured. First, this verse is primarily a theological statement about Allah's complete knowledge of all things seen and unseen. It is not necessarily presenting scientific information. However, even if we accepted the Muslim argument for the sake of discussion and treated it as scientific, there is still nothing uniquely miraculous about the statement. Ancient civilizations already understood that babies grow within the womb long before Islam even existed. Ancient Egyptians had methods for detecting pregnancy, including tests involving wheat and barley, which they urinated on, which later studies suggested had some level of effectiveness. While they did not possess modern medical knowledge, they clearly understood the general concept of pregnancy and fetal growth. Likewise, ancient physicians and philosophers such as Hippocrates and Galen viewed the womb as an organ capable of nourishing and sustaining a developing child. These concepts existed centuries before the Quran. And then there's obviously the quote-unquote scientific miracle of iron. According to many Muslim apologists, the Quran contains a scientific miracle regarding iron. They argue that the Quran miraculously described iron as coming from outer space, long before modern science discovered that much of Earth's iron originated from stellar processes and meteorites. Surah Al-Hadid, chapter 57, verse 25 of the Quran says, "We have already sent our messengers with clear evidences, and sent down with them the scripture and the balance that the people may maintain in justice. And we sent down iron, wherein is great military might and benefits for the people, and so that Allah may make evident those who support him and his messengers unseen. Indeed, Allah is powerful and exalted in might." The word here used is wa anzalna, meaning "and we sent down." Muslim apologists often argue that this phrase scientifically predicts extraterrestrial iron. However, this interpretation becomes problematic when we examine how the Quran uses the same language elsewhere. For example, Surah Az-Zumar, chapter 39, verse 6 says, "And he sent down for you 8 head of cattle in pairs." This was summarized, by the way. The same root word for sent down, anzala, is used here regarding cattle. Obviously, cattle did not literally descend from outer space. Therefore, the phrase sent down in the Quran can reasonably be understood metaphorically, meaning that Allah provided, granted, or bestowed something upon humanity. This demonstrates that interpreting iron as literally descending from space while interpreting cattle metaphorically is just inconsistent and dumb. In context, Surah chapter 57 verse 25 is emphasizing the usefulness, benefit, and strength of iron for mankind, especially in relation to justice, power, and civilization. The verse does not clearly describe meteorites, astronomy, or modern chemistry. Some apologists attempt to strengthen the argument through numerology. They point out that this is chapter 57 of the Qur'an, and that iron 57 is a known isotope of iron. Others argue that the Arabic word hadid has an abjad numerical value of 26, while iron is the 26th element on the periodic table. However, these arguments appear highly selective. Iron's atomic number is indeed 26, but Muslims must appeal to the isotope number 57 only because the chapter does not match the atomic number. This is the second least stable isotope of iron. This argument combines chapter numbers, isotopes, and numerology in a way that appears arbitrary rather than compelling evidence of divine revelation. Additionally, long before Islam, ancient civilizations already associated iron with the sky. Ancient Egyptians used meteoritic iron for jewelry and tools, and some hieroglyphic references describe it as iron from the sky. This demonstrates that the idea of iron coming down from the heavens is nothing new. It was already known in the ancient world long before the Quran. And I obviously could not finish the video off without mentioning that Muslims believe that the Quran predicted the Big Bang Theory. Muslims will point to verses such as chapter 21 verse 30 and chapter 51 verse 47, which say, "Have those who disbelieved not considered that the heavens and the earth were a joined entity, and then we separated them and made from water every living thing? Then will they not believe?" Modern scholars interpret joined entity as a cosmic singularity before the Big Bang. However, with any verse, you should read the context into it. Chapter 21, verses 31 through 32 helps explain chapter 21, verse 30. It says, "And we have set on the earth mountains standing firm, lest it should shake with them. And we have made therein broad highways, or between mountains for them to pass through, that they may receive guidance. And we have made the heavens as a canopy well guarded. Yet do they turn away from the signs which these things point to?" The following verses help explain verse 30 and states that after separating them, God placed, as it says, lest it should shake with them, mountains standing firm. It is obvious from these verses that this verse is more than likely describing the creation of the atmosphere or sky and earth, not the origin of the entire universe. Furthermore, chapter 51 verse 47 says, "With power and skill did we construct the firmament, for it is we who create the vastness of space." The verse here is quite vague. I would refer to this as saying that God created the universe over a vast area. It never explicitly describes a continuously expanding universe in the modern scientific sense. While in most translations it is said to be expander, the main debate centers around the word musyun. Ibn Kathir, one of Islam's greatest scholars in his tafsir, says, "Verily, we are able to extend the vastness of space thereof. Means, we made it fast and we brought its roof higher without pillars to support it, and thus it is hanging independently. Wa inna la musyun." Classical scholars generally interpreted musyun here to mean the possessor of vast power and means, or having made the sky vast and spacious at the time of creation, rather than a continuous ongoing physical inflation of space. The recent scholars have just decided to add on to the book, adding their own interpretation to make Islam seem more trustworthy, reliable, and shows scientific facts. But that's basically it for today's video. Let me know what you want to see in the next video. I may make a part 2 to this video, but just remember, love you guys so much. Don't cry, baby.
Boo hoo hoo hoo, stop lying. Hoo hoo, stop crying. Hoo hoo hoo, stop whining. Hoo hoo, you got me dying. Stop.